We are talking about timeouts today. Do you do timeouts with your kids? Are you finding it effective? Is it working? So we're going to talk about that today. My name is Dale Ecuyer, and I help families create health and harmony using holistic mental wellness solutions. And I love bringing parent coaches on to bring their expertise so we can help families really create a more calm and confident parenting and all that good stuff. So I have Adrienne Bishop. She's a certified positive discipline parent educator and life coach specializing in helping overwhelmed parents become more confident and effective in their parenting so that they can create a family that is connected and a life that they love. And that's what we want, right? We want to bring joy back into the family. I know that parenting is hard, but there are skills that we can implement. There are mind shifts that we can bring. So let's talk about it. Adrienne, thank you so much for being with me here today. So tell us what your thoughts are on timeouts. Like, are they effective? And what is really the process? And what maybe other tools you can bring instead?
Yeah. So when it comes to timeouts, the gist of them is that we want our child to learn from their mistakes, essentially, right? So there's a behavior they're displaying that we think is not appropriate. The reason that timeouts are used is so that the child understands that that behavior was not correct, wrong, inappropriate. We want them to learn to let go of that behavior and move away from it, right? So this tool is used pretty regularly so that we can expect our kids to be in a timeout, sit there, think to themselves, I guess I was wrong. I shouldn't have done whatever behavior I did. Next time I'll do better. Mom is right. Dad is right. I'm just going to sit here until I'm ready. I'll get calm. I'll go back and I won't do the behavior again. So that's like our hope for timeouts. And we think that we're kind of like holding our kids accountable in a sense to their behavior by using them. The problem with timeouts is there's a couple actually. So if your child is around the ages of 2, 3, and 4, they can't actually understand cause and effect the way we think that adults do, or even older kids do. If we're at the point where we're expecting our kid to understand that what they did was wrong and connect the effect of it as the timeout, like the effect of the behavior was the timeout, then we are missing the mark because they can't connect those two things. Wow. They don't understand that the timeout is a result of the behavior. So what happens is when they get into the timeout, all they do is either think about how angry they are at you or continue to escalate emotionally. Wow. So they don't connect the action or the behavior to the punishment. And that's the whole goal of timeouts, especially at these younger ages. Even at older ages, what happens in timeouts is that they still don't take responsibility for the behavior. Instead, they just get angry at you. They think you're the reason they're in the timeout, not their action. So if you're using timeouts to kind of teach a lesson, you might be missing the mark because of those couple reasons.
So I want to ask a question. So
yes.
Yeah, first of all, this is so good because I think oftentimes we don't understand like the child development process, what they can actually process. And what you're saying right now is so important that they can't connect like cause and effect at a young age, right? That's key. But then again, it's like, can they sit there and reason? No way. Like, oh, this is what I did wrong. Like their brains aren't capable of doing that. So that's like the expectation of them is wrong. So this is good. This is really good. So I have seen some parenting where when they do the timeout, and tell me whether or not this is effective, like, can you like up the game in when you put them down in the timeout to say, this is why you're in timeout, and kind of like go through an explanation, or is that still not really effective?
So
I guess it's going to depend on the age, but
it does. But the goal in explaining what would we imagine the goal in explaining would be was so that they could connect the dots without, in a way that's maybe they can handle, right? Because maybe the kid isn't capable of understanding the cause and effect. So we're like, okay, well, we'll explain it to them and then it'll all make sense. But the issue with that is that, number one, when your child is actually going to a timeout, they probably have a heightened emotional state. And so in a heightened emotional state, a lot of times the hearing actually goes off. So they're not absorbing any sort of, talking or lecturing or explaining from you. And a lot of times not only they're not absorbing it, it's actually causing them to escalate their emotional state and maybe even increase the behaviors that you don't want. The other thing that it does is it can feel shameful for some kids when they hear an explanation of, well, you're in the timeout because you hit your brother. We don't hit our brother. We don't hit our siblings. It's not kind. I want you to sit here for 2 minutes. All they hear is like, I just did something totally horrible and I'm a horrible kid. Some kids can go there. So not all kids go there. Some more sensitive kids would probably do that. Not going to be effective in the sense that they're going to only learn that they're just bad. That doesn't accomplish your original goal, which is to just get them to stop doing the behavior in the first place. And maybe even like understand that hitting is wrong. That might be another reason, right? So like we want them to stop hitting. We also want them to understand that hitting is not appropriate in the house. But as you can see, there's a lot going on. Not only is there the cause and effect issue, not only is there, I don't even know why I'm here and I'm just angry at mom because she put me in there. And this is the other thing I was going to actually talk about was the heightened emotional state can be escalated further by the timeout. And the reason that is happening is because the child, most of the time, the reason that they're exhibiting that behavior is because they're telling you that they need something from you. When they're showing you the behavior and you put them in a place away from you, as opposed to addressing their need, right? You're essentially telling them that when they do behave this way, you don't want to be near them. You don't want to be around them. They have to deal with it on their own. And it's pretty much the opposite of what the child needs. Most of the time, they need you to come toward them and connect, usually. So there's a need for attention. There's a need for power. There's a need for validation. And those things all go out the window when we put our child away from us. Even if they're like on the stairs near us and we're in the other room, it's still too far sometimes.
Yeah. Wow.
So,
all right. Well, that's really good. That's such a good explanation of it. And I love what you're saying too about the tone. And I think that goes with any age and any relationship, even like a marriage, like that escalates. If that emotion is high, you're not hearing the words.
No.
And especially with teens, that's definitely the case.
That's
definitely. I can attest to that. Calmer you are, and they'll hear what you're saying more. Okay, so what's the best way then to deal with kids that when you're trying to teach them, or they've done something that they maybe shouldn't have done, like hit their sibling? Like, how would you then effectively deal with that scenario?
Right. So a lot of times it can be, you can address it quickly in the moment. And I'll tell you how to do that in a sec. But a lot of times what you want to do is you want to really understand the cause of the misbehavior. And that takes a little more of a later on time where you're going to reflect on what was happening. So that is one thing I would highly recommend. So like I was mentioning, there's a few things that positive discipline explains in regards to the causes of the misbehavior. One is the need for attention. Another is the need for control. Another is the feeling of inadequacy. So they can't do something well. And then the fourth is the need for revenge, which is caused by a child that feels their feelings are hurt, not physically hurt, but their feelings are hurt. So then they want to hurt someone in revenge. When you can figure out that, and there's like a method to that whole madness essentially, but when you can figure out what exactly is going on underneath the misbehavior, then you can more effectively reduce it and there would be less need for it. So that's more of a overall plan that you would implement. It wouldn't be this immediate in the second where there's a hitting happening. You know the tools really well and you know the causes really well. You might be able to assess right on the spot and then use the tools. If you don't know, you want to almost always label the emotion. Describe what's happening in front of you as like an observation very neutrally. So I see Jimmy hitting Tim. Jimmy is mad at Tim because he took his toy. You can just observe what you're seeing. If they're able to kind of just take that in for a second, a lot of times they will back off and they'll understand that they're doing something that maybe they don't mean to be doing or want to be doing. And so sometimes that behavior will stop in that moment. If it doesn't stop, you want to continue helping them to physically move away from the kid, right? So you can move their hand in a gentle, firm kind of way. There is no hitting. And you want to repeat like a mantra so that they get the sense that this is not the correct behavior, but there's nothing that they're doing that's horribly wrong in the moment. It's just that we want to move them away from the behavior eventually. So we say, gentle hands, or we don't hit in this house. Give them a suggestion to do something different. You redirect them to a new way of either outlet, like a different kind of outlet for their, whatever they're doing, their anger, their feelings, Or you can just remove them and bring them with you to help them to kind of process through what's going on. So it depends really on the actual situation, what I would recommend you do. But validation is a really key tool pretty much always. You're really mad right now. You're really mad in very little words. We don't want to be talking a whole ton. And then just removing the child if they're young enough from the situation, and then giving them another option, or just bringing them close to you and trying to continue that connection level. A lot of times kids are hitting because they either are needing attention or maybe they're in revenge. And so either one of those, the revenge especially, the biggest tool is to acknowledge their feelings, to help them understand they're hurt. You're really hurt that he took your toy, or that, you feel really bad about that. And so when you're able to acknowledge that, then they can calm, their brain can calm a little bit. They get to the point where they're like, oh, mom understands. She's getting me. I don't need to express this challenging feeling in the hitting behavior currently, this very second, right? So they can sometimes will kind of de-escalate from there if you're able to do that. And then later on, a lot of parents go back and they talk it through, which is like sometimes okay, sometimes it works. But a lot of times what I've seen is the best policy is to just continue to repeat the same mantra, like there, gentle hands for the littler ones, and for the older ones, we don't hit in this house. And so that eventually that kind of becomes part of their thought processes, and continue with the connection, and then preventing the need for misbehavior using the tools that you're addressing your child when they're calm all the time. You're giving them choices. You're providing them with attention on a regular basis. You're connecting with them throughout the day. So they don't actually need to use those behaviors as much as they were in the past.
So it's kind of like preventative.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's like filling their cup with good stuff, acknowledging the good behavior to prevent the bad behavior. I love it. And I think what you're saying too is when you're delivering those things, like when you're saying, I see, Timmy, you're upset with Johnny because he took your toy. So when you're delivering that, for you also to be in a calm place.
Yeah.
Like
that's also important.
Definitely part of the equation in that one. But that's great though. I mean, I could see that just acknowledging it like that would totally like diffuse the situation.
Yeah. So a lot of times. Yeah. If you're able to remain neutral and be observant like that and not get involved in the drama, the kids are almost like they're like in a trance. They've like been snapped out of the trance. Sometimes it really does work. Sometimes you have to continue using a couple more tools in that plate, after you've said that. But it really does kind of give them a sense of, oh, wait, I am angry. Oh my gosh, I'm hitting because I'm angry. And they start to become more self-aware, especially for the younger kids. Definitely is a good way to do it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That is awesome. So I know we could talk for a really long time, but I wanted to kind of keep this really succinct. So tell us about your coaching, because if anyone's out there, I know I have taken parenting classes when I was raising my kids. It was a godsend.
Yeah.
And especially now, there's just so much going on in people's homes. I don't have to go into what we all know.
Yeah. Yeah.
So let my audience know like how to get a hold of you and what types of services you offer.
Sure, I'd love to. So I have a Facebook group that's free that I'm in all the time, and I do lots of lives and sort of like this where lots of information. You can just go in the group and find probably any topic. At this point, it's been going on now for 2 years. So I've had a lot of lives and a lot of posts that might be able to be just helpful, just looking at watching those and reading some of the posts. And so that's where I am a lot of my time. I go in there a lot. And so what I do is I work actually one-on-one with clients. So that's my main way that I help parents. And I was just telling Dale that lately I've had a lot of people reaching out because I think at this point in not only the pandemic, but our online schooling, it's getting to be, a lot of burnout. There's a lot of overwhelm. And my specialty is really helping parents feel better and to move out of overwhelm and out of burnout so that they can actually use some of these tools and maybe reduce the amount of reaction the
Mm,
anger and the yelling, which is very common when you're burnt out. It's very easy to just react from that place because you
absolutely.
don't have any emotional energy. So what I
Right.
do is I help them to get the emotional energy back by removing sort of their attachment to the roller coaster of emotions their kids are going through. And then once we get to a place of they're in a neutral place in a more regular, more regularly, then they can really effectively use some new tools and connect with their kids more easily. And then even model the behavior of how to be emotionally regulated, which is huge.
Mm,
So I really
huge.
believe that parents need that skill, not only for their own enjoyment of their own life, but then
Yeah.
to their kids actually do feed off that and they model it. So if you're calm and confident, like that's my parenting group, if you're calm, confident, and clear as a leader of your family, more likely the kids will be more relaxed. They will listen to you and they will trust you. So it definitely helps for parents to understand these tools and be able to regulate their own emotions.
Yes.
So that's
Yes.
where I hang
So
out most.
huge.
Yeah.
Yes, so
So
huge. I heard another coach say that the parent is the flight attendant. And so people
mhm.
look at the flight attendant, like if there's chaos, like, is she calm? Okay. If she's calm, then everything must be okay. So
Yeah,
I think that's a
exactly.
good analogy. That's awesome. So what's the name of your group again?
It's called calm, confident parenting.
Definitely recommend all you parents out there take advantage of this. I mean, there's just too much going on, and we need someone to guide us through this that has effective skills. I
I
mean,
mean,
don't.
we're not born with this, we don't know how to parent just being born. So
I
yeah,
know.
it's definitely
I
hard
know.
right now to just kind of
Yeah,
know what to do in these challenging situations. So
absolutely.
yeah.
Well, thank you, Adrienne, for being with me. This was super awesome. It was such good information
Thank
and
you. It was
really
fun.
good tool to start to implement and easy to implement. Just acknowledging
Yeah,
what they're going through, like just that in itself. Just try it. Just try it. And
exactly.
I think you're going to see like a different reaction, something different than you would have thought. All right,
Thank
we'll have to
you.
have you back again and definitely connect with our group. We'll put that in the comments.